Let's we've kept one of our other dear friends penned up in there, who's like you has been out in the world, and we want to hear what he's been up to. Let's bring Curtis Armstrong out.
What a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, buddy.
I have these friendships that that literally only exist on stage, and it's very unhealthy. Like, it's a very but yeah. So I'm just explaining that I'm not a healthy person, and that like that's what I was talking about earlier.
Well, that goes without saying. But what was interesting for me is that I'm here because I've been away for a while. And I asked if I could come by, and he said, yeah, but of course he doesn't tell me.
Oh, that I'm here?
That you're here. So I show up just as you come out.
Oh.
And it's the first time I think I've been in a room with him in about 30 years.
Oh, I didn't know you guys crossed paths.
We did a movie
called
together. One
together.
Crazy Summer.
Jesus fucking Christ.
My
brain that was
rotting
away.
Bob, we keep missing each other.
Joel Murray too, right?
Joel Murray, yeah, who is
Bill Murray, right?
God Bless America, whom we love and adore.
John
Cusack.
Cusack.
About this movie ad nauseum. Why did I not make that fucking connection?
Well, that's how we
right.
met. We were in our 20s, and we made that movie, and it was I'm a big indoor BB gun enthusiast, but at the time we made that movie, I was a big indoor model rocketry enthusiast.
Yes.
So every night I'd go back into my room and build a big rocket and then shoot it down the hallway at the hotel. Because there was this security guard who was like, "You guys are making too much noise." And I was like, "Oh, I'll give you noise."
Yeah.
So we would sit there with lawn chairs and wait for this poor guy to come around the corner and go, this rocket at him. Yeah, that was a lot of stuff like that.
It was great. And what was really great about that movie is if you see it now, there's Bill Murray, there's Joel.
Now I feel better.
Joel Murray and Bill John Cusack and Demi Moore. But what's really funny about it is he's so completely took over this movie.
Wow.
Let me finish what I'm saying. So what happens is
I'm in heaven.
We all show up and
love this movie.
We all think that we have our thing going and we know what we're doing and we have our bit. And Cusack's got a name already and Demi's got a name already. But after about a week on the set, they're all talking like him. On camera. Not just off camera where we're off going, but on camera. And it started like with Cusack doing it, and
Johnny
then
did it,
remember
he
this?
Did, I love it, yeah.
And Joel, and then Demi started doing it. So they would be on camera doing scenes that had nothing to do with him.
And Savage Steve is like, this wasn't supposed to be about Grover's family.
That's right.
But so Demi was on General Hospital. Cusack had done that Rob Reiner movie, A Sure Thing. Everybody was coming up. Everybody had a high Q, but Curtis. So we would all go out to dinner, and nobody would recognize anybody, and there'd always be, "Booger! It's fucking Booger! Booger! Booger, come over here!" Occasionally they'd be, "Jackie Templeton," which was Demi's character on that movie.
No, it was great. It was such a great thing.
There's a scene where Steve told me later, that scene where it's with you and I, and I talk about a little fat kid who's growing up.
Oh God, yes.
And he goes, "Were you that fat kid?" And I was like, "No, I used to punch the shit out of him." and I'm almost in tears telling that story. But I didn't remember this. Steve said that was something I pitched, and we
didn't pitch it. I'll tell you exactly what happened. So
I'm gonna fucking die over here. So happy.
I have never forgotten this because I honestly didn't know Bobcat at that point. He was just this godlike thing that showed up on the set one day, and you couldn't stop. You couldn't speak.
You weren't familiar with anything.
No, I mean,
I'd seen him.
I don't know if I'd seen him. I'd never seen him live, so I don't think I saw him live a lot after. But at that time, I hadn't seen him. So, but he shows up, and there's just nobody like this man in the world. And it wasn't like he was on in that sort of Bobcat character all the time. He wasn't doing that. But he was so interesting and so funny and so smart, and everything, all this great stuff was coming out of him, and you just wanted to sit and listen to him. And so we're at lunch one day. He comes over to me and says, "Come here." And he takes me into a garage. And
I'm not falling for that again.
And he says, I have this idea for a scene, and I want to run through it with you before I show Savage.
Oh, okay.
This is what happened. So we sit down, and I'm just looking at you, waiting for you to start. And you start in on that speech where you say, "You know, there was this little fat kid once," and you go through the whole thing, and it's very funny if you know the movie, and if you see the movie, he's really funny. And he tells this whole sad story about the little fat boy, like he's confessing. And I just said to him, as a person, "Were you that little fat boy?" And he said, "No, but I used to beat the shit out of him." And I thought it was the best thing I'd ever seen. So we got Savage from lunch, and we ran through it again for Savage, and it's the big scene that he has in the movie, and he just came up with it.
But I didn't. I was naive about how things work. Then.
Apparently not.
Yeah, no.
Apparently you could just put a scene in a movie.
Well, I wouldn't. Yeah, I know.
But
You were right. You were right.
I
he was
learned.
right.
When you had me direct
Bob.
Community, I didn't do any of that shit.
Bob,
Right? You didn't come down and go, "What the fuck is going on? Goldthwait's in a scene now?"
all right, so for real, Curtis, that whole scene, that monologue is all a riff? That's all-
Improvised entirely by him in a garage.
Because that's one of the memorable, like.
I know. That's why I'm bringing it up.
That's
It's one of the
fucking
big
amazing.
scenes in the
I
movie.
do remember it, and I have the best memory in the world. Because I forgot that they were in that movie together.
I mean, I get to travel around a lot with Joel Murray, and whom I love and adore, who's one of the most delightful people there is. And he's told stories about working on One Crazy Summer, about how much fun you guys had.
Yeah, it was really,
and
really
was
for,
fun.
like all the partying, because it was the 80s and it was groove-tastic,
insane.
and it was like really sexy and fun.
I remember the Cusack's like, "I got this friend, and he's going to put him in the movie," and it was Piven. And Piven shows up, gets hammered, jumps in the pool, cracks his face open on the bottom of the pool. It hasn't been on camera yet, and they had to putty his face with mortician's wax.
That's right.
He had a big cut in his head.
Aw, Pivy.
Oh, the Piv.
Little Pivy. Poor Pivy.
Mr. Selfridge. Okay,
Enough One Crazy Summer.
But that must have been an awesome time to be young comics in.
Yeah.
When they were making big comedy films, like.
Well, I remember that the name of it was called, what was it, My Summer Vacation or Greetings?
My Summer Vacation.
Yeah, yeah. And then they were saying, Warner Brothers said, you can't call that because they had vacation.
Yeah.
And so they said, we're going to call it One Crazy Summer. And he goes, if they put out Woody Allen movies, it'd be One Neurotic Jewish Guy.
Yeah, it's what I mean. Well, to counter what Jeff said, I think the further back you go, and we think in this desolate landscape of where it's catch as catch can, and we just get a little giggle here, and my podcast got 600 hits, and I'm so happy. And I think you talk to the Farrelly brothers about Kingpin, for example. And you hear this story about how they almost killed themselves. I thought Kingpin was the best Farrelly Brothers movie that has ever been made, but because the world was older then, like, the rules are different about who's telling you what about whether or not you're being successful, whether or not your movie succeeded. And the disparity between when you're supposed to celebrate. Remember the Sony leaks came out, and there was just like one of the most delightful parts of the Sony leaks was Channing Tatum's email to everybody at Sony going, "Yeah, bitches, we did it!" because they just made like $740 billion in an hour for I don't even know which movie it was, Godzilla versus Men in Black or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But Channing Tatum was involved, and he was like, "Yeah, bitches? He was using Z's and exclamation points.
There's got to be a high five emoticon.
But it really has nothing to do with whether or not. I'm not saying whatever he was talking about was a bad movie. I'm saying it was completely disconnected from whether it was a good or bad movie. And because you, like Jeff is saying, like, oh, that must have been a great time to be alive, all these comedy movies. I'm going to assume, God, no. I'm assuming that, like, that just meant that more hilarious people were being told more times per minute, you really fucked up. Can't believe you were in that piece of shit. But you told me to be in it. It was a piece of shit. I never said that. Why would I do that? I work for Mike Ovitz, goddammit.
I was recently...
I just did coke off of the Small World ride.
I was...